Alright, hey everybody, this is Bacter, and this is also Let's Play the Colonel's Bequest, a Laura Bow adventure. A great old graphical adventure game released by Sierra Online in 1989. We've got a lot to get through in this first update, so let's jump right into it. You can see the copyright protection screen coming up here. It's fingerprint identification. So let's pull up our list of fingerprints. And I think if you look at the top left, you'll see that Seeley's fingerprint is the one that we want. Back in the day, they actually gave you a magnifying glass, a little plastic one with a red lens that you had to use to find. I thought that was really cool. So this first part is the intro movie. There's nothing you really need to see here. It's kind of fun. There's some good music and of course my commentary, but I'll give you the option to skip it. So if you want to, see you. Otherwise, see you after the break. Okay, we begin with the signing of a will, so delicately that the paper is not disturbed or deformed at all. This name, Colonel Henri A. Dijon, is going to be important later. I don't think we find out what the A is. Hopefully everybody likes the will and finds it equitable, and there's no problem. Oh! I should point out that this is not meant to be a setup or a prequel of anything. This scene actually never happens in the game. The will is signed by the time the game begins, but they get the point across fairly well, I think, that this is a murder game, and we are going to fill with blood by the time is over. By the time it is over, I should say. And this introductory sequence, written, as it says, by the Williams development team. They were responsible for a lot of the really seminal adventure games. This intro sequence features people appearing on the stage, and that brings up an interesting point, which is that the game is presented in its own logic as a play. And so we're divided into acts, and that there will be, those are sort of chapters that I'll be doing, one act or chapter per read-through. I'll be going over these characters in more detail when we encounter them in-game, but it is kind of nice how they divide them up here by who is associated with who. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why they made it a play. I don't know if that is supposed to make it less scary, or relates to who Laura Bow is supposed to be. We'll talk about that later, her inspiration. But anyway, we begin at Tulane University, where Laura attends. That is in New Orleans, Louisiana. In 1925, about 7% of the college population was female. So Laura and her friend Lillian, presumably both being journalism majors, at least Laura is, attending college would be unusual but not unheard of. Tulane had been around for about 100 years by this point in time, and they had pretty good programs. Laura is dressed more conservatively. Lillian, that is supposed to be a flapper garb, and this is the midst of the Roaring '20s, so the flapperdom is in full swing. I like this little exchange here, that Lillian is supposed to be Laura's good friend, and she's like, well, I don't know if I want to come with you, but it's creepy? Oh, well, then, I'm there. Count me in. That's sort of the first peek into her personality. Look at her face, by the way. Look at Laura's face. Something's wrong with that. Anyway, that's sort of the first peek into her personality. She likes mysteries and creepy things. This guy is not brought up again in the story, and I think that is a huge waste, because this guy looks like the coolest. He rides his swamp boat Jesse, and he has awesome robes, or just a fancy suit for that kind of thing. I don't know if this is how everybody got to the island, or what. It seems like there might be a more efficient way to get there. Apparently her uncle lives out in the bayou, in the swamps of Louisiana, and it's quite hard to get to the island, so we have commissioned the old boatman here and Jesse. Now he's moving fairly slowly, but yeah, he apparently lands really roughly, with the whole screen shaking and everything. I guess he knows what he's doing. I can't imagine he brought all those boxes to the island. It's a small little raft or whatever. Well, here we have the first look at Misty Acres. The plantation used to be a sugarcane plantation way back in the day. Presumably not after the Civil War, but it is kept in remarkably good condition. I mean, we'll see later that the Colonel doesn't do a lot of upkeep on it, but the graphics, I think, for the graphical engine that they used and the number of colors they were allowed and things like that is quite good. I don't know, it's a good scene to me. I don't know, this sort of evokes dread or whatever. Being sort of a gloomy night. And here comes Jeeves, moving perfectly sideways and timed with the lightning. Yes? He's not looking at either of us. You cannot tell me that Jeeves actually sees either one of us there. So either he's too formal to look down, or there's just something really fascinating going on out there. Anyway, we're apparently the last people there. I guess Jesse and the boatman was not the most efficient way to get there. So everybody is already at dinner time. So I guess we're going to come in and meet them. And this is supposed to be sort of a first look at everybody, I think. Here comes the Colonel, and he is awesome all the time. Look, he shows up after everybody's there, so he shows up late, and here is his intro speech. That's Fifi the maid behind him, by the way. The geometry of that chair looks slightly off. Maybe it's an art piece or something. Maybe it's an illusion. His eyes and her eyes actually look fairly normal here. That will be different in many characters to come. Their eyes start to look crazy, and I love it. I guess Fifi looks a little drugged, but anyway. So we have no place in the will or the heart of Henri Dijon. We are not part of the family. I mean, there's no reason we would expect to be part of the will. That will be important. Look at the conditions he gives. Okay, everybody here, you're all getting a share of my millions of dollars, which would be a lot even now, but back in the 20s it was ridiculous, a lot of money. And if any of you dies, then the other ones get even more money. So, have fun isolated on this island with a great motive for murder. French maid, take me back to my room. This is just step one of how awesome Colonel Dijon is. Now, he leaves the room and everybody starts to talk bad about him instantly. Except Jeeves, who doesn't say anything. And you, who are presumably too nice, look at Lillian's face. Everybody else is talking, but Lillian is apparently just gap-jawed in horror. I mean, I wonder if that was supposed to be that way, or whatever. I think it's weird that they bet Colonel Dijon outlives Gloria. She's pretty young. She's on the end there. She's at the end of the table. Well, Lillian's had enough of that, pushes back from the table, and you guys egress. We'll find out more about Gloria and why that might actually be a thing to say later. I like how they linger on the shot. Everyone's like, okay. Alright, well, after that dinner table scene, we are moved up to our room, which we are sharing with our friend Lillian. She is the one that invited us to this weekend, if we forget. There was an announcement at dinner where Colonel Dijon said that he was going to share his fortune equally with everyone there, except us, us not being related, when he died, and if anyone died before he did, everyone else would get their share of money. So everyone now has a great motive for murder, and we're all isolated on this island. Everyone then started bad-mouthing Henri as soon as he left, with his maid Fifi, except for Lillian, who was very upset by it. Laura thinks that something is strange. Everyone is acting oddly, which I guess it's a very strange situation, so that's not all that bizarre. So the first thing to do, obviously, is to get advice from Ghost Dad. So, let's see, here we go. This is John Bow, who I'm calling Ghost Dad. I don't know if he's actually dead now. He is Laura's father. He was a renowned detective and was very successful at that, so he gives us some sort of good general detective advice throughout the game. Be unobtrusive, take a lot of notes. It says question the others without raising suspicion. I don't think you can actually raise suspicion by questioning, so we're going to ask everyone absolutely everything, but that's neither here nor there. We will take our notebook and take notes all throughout the game. This sort of feels half done. You're allowed to see Laura's notes at the very end of the game, but never during the game. And while taking notes is sort of an important part of it, I feel like that's something we should have access to. So I've shown us a close-up of her notebook here, and I will be including in the game a little notebook icon and a tone. Anytime, there it is. Anytime you see that, you can click on it for more information. There is a review of everyone who is present if you want to click on it now. I guess you already have. So let's just move around a little bit, get familiar with the controls, move with the arrow keys. Everything is done with a text parser. Every action, or talking to someone or picking anything up. So we notice that the room looks kind of nice. There's a painting with strange hollow eyes. And to begin with, since Chapter 1 is kind of a big one, I'm going to move us out into the hallway and give you the freedom of choice. There is a side quest that takes place outside, or the main quest that takes place inside. Outside is puzzles, inside is dealing with people. So I'll let you choose here. Pick whichever you like, and I'll see you after the break.